Yeah, basically Achilles will challenge and fight anything.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
He could take his sword out and start whacking at a bush. And
Hello, and welcome to WINNOW, a couple's close reading of the Iliad and the Odyssey. I'm Owen Gemmer.
I'm Isabella Gemmer. We are married and we love to talk about books together.
In this podcast, we are working our way through the entirety of Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. This particular episode will cover Book 21 of the Iliad.
Yep. This is the one with the angry river.
And the angry Achilles. Well, that's kind of all of them.
But that's the whole book.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I guess let's just dive into our summaries. I feel like we end up talking before we get to our summaries, but we should do the summaries first.
Okay. I'm reading my summary.
Okay.
I have done rhyming couplets once again. Achilles pushes the Trojans into the river. He kills them, and the fish will eat their liver. The river's commander is choked up with dead men. Achilles is confronted with the consequences of his actions again. The river is stronger than Achilles thinks. He is saved by Hephaestus and his fire of reds and pinks. The gods are fighting and hurting each other's feelings. Apollo is done with these dealings. The Trojans retreat inside the walls of the city. Agenor is chased by Achilles, who is a little too giddy.
I like it. I like the river and liver. That was fun at the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. Well, technically, my translation says that the fish are going to eat their kidneys.
Oh.
So I was like, let's do liver because it rhymes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I switched it up slightly, and I went back to a haiku because I've been doing haikus when there's been nature imagery because haikus are often about nature. Mm-hmm. So, river red with blood, personified in battle, violence drowns them all.
Nice.
Yeah. Solid. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
I feel like the book is fairly straightforward in terms of the overall themes. It's like man against nature, and nature is more powerful than man thinks. It feels classic now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know how classic it would have felt or different it would have felt back then. But nowadays it feels, I don't know. I think I found this book a little boring because the themes seem so sort of overdone nowadays. But that might just be, again, my modern perspective, feeling like, okay, yeah, we get it. Nature's really powerful and strong, and we shouldn't, pretend to not be.
So looking at it with the modern lens, right, we tend to think of nature as separate from whatever man is doing, right, and those things coming into conflict. But I don't think it was necessarily the same for the Greeks, mostly because, nature was most definitely alive.
Yeah, and divine.
And, yeah, as seen in how the river is, literally a personified god.
Yeah.
And then it is only with the help of other gods that Achilles is able to pull out of the situation he's in with the river. So it's different. It's not a classic man versus nature.
Right. Different from a modern sense, but it actually in many ways kind of the same thing as it has been about Achilles fighting against both mortals and gods at the same time, and the way that the gods sort of manifest themselves might change, where now they're in a river. But in many ways, it actually isn't that much of a deviation from what we've seen in the Iliad so far.
Yeah, basically Achilles will challenge and fight anything.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is. Mm-hmm. He could take his sword out and start whacking at a bush, and that would satisfy him.
Well, if he understood the bush to have
wronged him,
then
right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get to why Achilles ends up fighting this river. Mm-hmm. Because it's not right at the beginning. He's not immediately beginning the book going and fighting a river. Uh-huh. He first is fighting the Trojans. Right at the end of the last book had begun rampaging, and now continues that rampage, chasing them to the river, which in this book has two different names, Xanthus and Scamander.
Yes.
They refer to them kind of interchangeably as both. Yeah. So he's chasing Trojans into the river and killing them while they're trying to like cross it and swim away. And the river is sort of slowly filling up with corpses because Achilles is just like better than everybody.
Yeah. So here's a simile to describe what's going on. The water ran red with blood, just as when other fish flee from a massive, monstrous dolphin, filling the nooks and hiding places of a harbor in terror. And he gulps the ones he catches. So did the Trojans cower and shrink back within the currents of the fearsome river beneath the overhanging banks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they think, it's kind of like they think, oh, we'll go to, they're kind of pushed into the river, but there's a little bit of like maybe there is safety somewhere in this because, right, like water is harder to move through and stuff. They're like, maybe this will be better. Mm-hmm. Turns out it's like, but it's not. And then this leads nicely to Achilles following through on what he said a couple books ago to pick out 12 Trojan boys so that they can be like slaughtered over Patroclus's tomb.
Right. So he stops killing, but these people have kind of like surrendered / lost their weapons in the water, different reasons. So he goes in and he like pulls out prisoners essentially, and takes a moment to stop killing and send them back with some of his men to like, hey, take these guys back to the ship. And there's 12 of them and they are going to be, sacrificed.
Yeah.
Which again, like when we read that initially, when he promised that to Patroclus' corpse, we were like, whoa, that's pretty intense. Mm-hmm. And here it's again, pretty intense. Yeah. Cause I think for me, like, on the one hand, taking people alive rather than killing them might be seen as somewhat more merciful. But I think it doesn't feel that way, both because of the implication that like we will be sacrificing them sort of in cold blood later. So they will die just kind of in a more brutal way without a chance to fight back. And also because like, again, there doesn't seem to be any practical need in the battle to sort of take them prisoner in this way, that it's just like Achilles choosing to stop killing and just start taking prisoners. And so it feels just like totally another one of Achilles' whims. It's not, again, like a rational, calculated, like this is the most expedient way for me to accomplish my goals. It's just like, I'm going to do this because I have this hatred in my heart.
Yeah. It's interesting to me when like Achilles says things in rage and then later he actually remembers and follows through. You'd think he'd be in such a blind fury that he would just start saying things that he wouldn't actually end up like following through on, you know? And like this one, I'm like, oh, he actually is doing it.
Right. Because I think, this is just conjecture, but I think in many ways his rage continues. It hasn't ever actually abated. Right, like we might expect there to be a discrepancy if he says something when he's angry and then when he's calm, he goes back on it or forgets about it or doesn't do it. But here, there's not that actually switch from rage to calm. It's just been pure rage. And so he's still in the same exact mindset that he was when he said it to Patroclus.
Yeah.
And this continues even further because then after he goes back into the fighting, he is fighting with one of Priam's other sons, Hector's, half brothers, who eventually becomes disarmed and grabs Achilles' knees and is supplicating him to have mercy on him and take him prisoner as well. Yeah.
Well, it's so weird. It's this guy who apparently Achilles has ran into before, like on the outskirts of the walls of Troy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they ran into each other before, way back when, and Achilles like took him captive and shipped him off as a slave to a different land. And then someone from Troy was like on a journey and they saw him in this other place and they were like, wait, you're one of Priam's like sons. You should come back with me. And then like brought him all the way back. And so he's meeting with Achilles for the second time. And he is, begging for his life. And his main argument is like, don't kill me because like he and Hector don't have the same mother, even though Priam is both of their father. Yeah, he's kind of like, I have nothing to do with this, but Achilles doesn't care because that's not what this is about.
Right. And so I think it's an interesting contrast where previously we had Achilles not killing and taking prisoners, and we saw that as cruel. And now here he is killing instead of taking prisoners. It's the exact opposite. Somebody wants to be taken prisoner and is killed instead. And it's also cruel, but in a different way. And Achilles' excuse again, excuse is that like, right, earlier in the war when I was fighting, like before the events of the book, I did take prisoners more frequently and sell them into slavery, like I did with you, is kind of what he's applying.
Before Patroclus died and met his fate, I was a little more inclined to spare the Trojans. I took many of them prisoner and sold them off alive as slaves, but now no Trojan will escape from death. Da-da-da.
Right. So he's like explicitly stating that like because of Patroclus's death, I am now like not following the same patterns and habits that I did previously. Mm-hmm. Like now it is just death to all Trojans, no matter what. For him, like the distinction of like, oh, Hector and I don't share the same mother, so we're not like, that doesn't matter to Achilles. Like all Trojans by association with Hector are guilty.
Yeah.
Which is the same argument actually that way back in I think book 3 or 4 Agamemnon made. Where like there was a moment where Menelaus had a prisoner and was maybe going to spare his life. And then Agamemnon comes over and is like, no, like death to all Trojans, even the women and children. And we're like, whoa. So like this idea of like corporate guilt that like in that case for Agamemnon, it's not just Paris that we're mad at because Paris, took Helen.
Yeah.
It's all the Trojans by association with Paris. Mm-hmm. And now for Achilles, it's not just Hector that I'm mad at because he killed Patroclus. It is all Trojans by association with Hector.
Yeah.
So there's this, and in some ways, Agamemnon and Achilles here, despite having been at odds with one another, are actually shown to be very similar.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a nice echo back from Agamemnon's actions early on.
Because all of this, I think, is encapsulated when after Achilles kills this other guy, he then taunts sort of all of the Trojans collectively. And he says, let me pull it up. I'm going to read this from the Lattimore translation. Die on all till we come to the city of sacred Ilion, you in flight and I in killing you from behind. And there will not be any rescue for you from your silvery world, strong running river. For all the numbers of bulls you dedicate to it, and drown single-footed horses alive in its eddies. And yet, even so, die all an evil death, till all of you pay for the death of Patroclus and the slaughter of the Achaeans, whom you killed beside the running ships when I was not with them. So again, here he's basically just making explicit what we just said, that he sees every single Trojan now as sort of guilty for what has been done to Patroclus. And this will transition well into our Greek time.
Greek time.
Because the language that he uses, right? He says, till all of you pay for the death of Patroclus and the slaughter of the Achaeans whom you killed beside the running ships. So he does, to his credit, also loop in not just Patroclus, but all of the other Achaeans that they've killed. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to like present it as a more broad sense of revenge. Mm-hmm. But this idea of like to pay the price, to pay for what you have done. The verb form as it is in the original is tisita, which is a form of the verb tino, which, if you remember from a few books ago, is related to the word tio. So back when Achilles was first mourning Patroclus's death, he sort of had said, this is, many translations say like, my companion whom I love beyond all others. But actually that word that was used was tio, which is like to honor or to value or to esteem above all others. So it's not a love, it's a value or an honor. And this is another verb form of that, to like pay a price. So again, it's related to this transactional. That initial one that he used to describe Patroclus was again also could be used for, oxen, like I value this oxen at, whatever price. And now this is the verb form of that, to pay that price. And so, well, I think it says interesting things again about Achilles' headspace with all of this.
Mm-hmm. With the use of this Greek word, we can kind of infer that Achilles sees Patroclus' death as something that is transactional, potentially. There's
literally like a blood debt that has been incurred and that must be repaid.
Yeah, it's like a literal, because sometimes when people are undergoing extreme grief, there can be this sense of like nothing could ever repay or take the place of, the person that I have lost. Mm-hmm. There's like a lot of people express that like there is no other thing that could ever fill the hole, essentially. But this verb kind of makes it seem like for Achilles, there is an amount of Trojans that he can kill that will equal out the grief that he feels for Patroclus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I do think that number is all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it does seem to imply that like if he is able to kill every single Trojan, that like there will be some sort of equity that has been achieved or something like that.
Like there isn't like an infinite amount potentially.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to the 12 as well, right? Like regardless of why it was 12, like there was a number of Trojans that we can capture and sacrifice at, Patroclus's funeral that like will be satisfactory here. That like we can atone for what has happened in measurable ways. 12 men that we sacrifice, every other Trojan killed in revenge. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm realizing that this is interesting in contrast with Briseis being taken from him at the beginning and him being like, when the envoy goes to offer him immeasurable gifts.
Or even back in book 1, like Agamemnon is initially like, okay, yeah, like when we finally sack Troy, like you can have 4 times as much of the loot as I get or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Achilles is clear that like he's not interested in those things. Like he's not interested in compensation for having like Briseis taken from him because his honor has been hurt so much that there are no physical things that can make up for the disrespect that he feels. But then we have this like, but for the death of Patroclus, there is a certain amount of killing that can be done that will make up for it.
Does that in many ways like diminish your like the feeling that Achilles has for Patroclus? Like, does that make it sort of less honorable? Maybe not honorable, but less passionate.
It's sort of more because it's like taking human lives instead of just physical objects, right? He wasn't interested in like a lot of the physical objects that were being offered to him. But when it's like the opportunity to take others' lives, right? Like he's like, that's gonna do it,
Yeah. But I do also think there's an interesting, because again, in the passage we just read, he loops in, for the price you must pay for the death of Patroclus and all the other Achaeans who you killed while I was sitting aside. Like he also, there is, whether it's sort of, apologetic or not, he's admitting that many of the other Greeks who have died, in the last 20 books of this are kind of his fault. He's blaming it on the Trojans.
Yeah, but he has also in past blamed it on himself.
Right.
So what is he doing the killing for?
Right. It seems to be
to
more,
make up for his own emotions?
Yeah, I think so. Like he recognizes that like, oh yeah, Patroclus died because I was sitting aside. All these other all these other Greeks died because I was sitting aside, and now I have to like make up for my mistake.
Yeah, and like a sense that there needs to be equal death on both sides as well. Like, just a lot of killing.
Yeah, and a lot of rage. And that rage, right, like this escalates then into his rage at the river.
Yeah.
For, again, I think practical reasons where the river is angry because it is now like filled with all the corpses, but then also like character and emotional reasons where like for Achilles, he has kind of taken out as much rage as is possible on human beings up to this point. Like he can't really do anything more to human beings until he can get to Hector. And so in the meantime, that like if his rage is still escalating, the next natural step is to like fight a god. Like there's nowhere else for him to go because he's proven himself to be able to like slaughter as many Trojans as he wants pretty easily.
Yeah, and the river is, again, it's another moment similar to at the a couple books ago when Achilles' horse just talks to him for a minute and then stops talking. It's an interesting kind of world break where all of a sudden the river is personified and talking.
Interesting that you say that. I don't feel like it's the same. I feel like it is more expected because they have talked about the river and bodies of water in deified terms before.
Yeah.
And they've talked about like sacrificing to these things, whereas the horses were not deified, that like they were given the ability to speak by the gods, by an external force. But this is simply the river with its own divine nature speaking.
Okay. Well, the horses were also divine. They were immortal horses.
True. But they were given the ability. They didn't naturally have the ability to speak of their own volition. They had to be given it.
Yeah.
Whereas the river is not like imbued by a different god. It simply has its own will, so to speak.
I know what you mean. I'm just saying.
But no, right, like from a narrative perspective, it does come out like, whoa, what? Like we're talking to the river now? That's weird.
Yeah. Because at first it's like the river sees what's happening and the river is like getting angry. And then all of a sudden the river starts talking. Like it's normal, I think, in the Iliad for the river to be angry, or like a mountain to
like through similes and metaphors. Things like that.
But then for it to like talk, you're like, okay. I'm gonna read the rivers. The river is fed up because I cannot freely pour my waters down into the shining sea because the bodies choke me. Yet you keep killing even more, annihilating everyone. Come on, leader of troops, stop now. This is too much. I kind of like the language of like I'm choked up, like because like the amount of dead bodies is so much that it's building a sort of dam that's not allowing the river's water to like flow straight, and like that's like the purpose of a river is for the water to like and like if it's not doing that, it's not doing its purpose, and so it's getting angry, which I like. But then Achilles kind of is obviously like he just gets sassy back, and he is basically like, I'm not stopping until I trap all the Trojans in their city and I fight with Hector to see if he defeats me or I conquer him.
Which I think again is funny because the two requests aren't mutually exclusive. Like Achilles can get what he wants and also appease the river by simply killing people on the shore.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. There's a moment before the river starts talking where Achilles basically says, Zeus is more powerful than any river that gurgles on its journey to the sea. You have a fine big river with you now. See if he does you any good. There is no way to fight with Zeus, the son of Kronos. Basically, Achilles doesn't think that the river can do anything or has any real power in this situation. But he is like immediately proven wrong when the river speaks up, and then he's like, not listening to you. The river like surges, does a lot of really like aggressive stuff. The river surged and swelled and rushed against him, swirling and gathering his streams together to sweep away the multitude of corpses that blocked his waters. It kind of insinuates that the river moves in such a way that it's trying to like protect the Trojans that are still alive in the river. This really great description happens, and then Achilles is like, oh no, I'm stuck. Like the river is so strong. He's basically like this might be it. This might be my end all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And he cries out to Zeus to pity him.
Like, if I'm going to die, I want to die by a human being.
Yeah. He's like, if only I could die at Hector's hands. He is the finest fighter born at Troy. And the killer and the killed would both be heroes. But as things are, it is my lot to die a terrible, humiliating death trapped in a river, like a swineherd boy trying to cross the water in a storm. I just think it's great. He's like, you have no power. And then water immediately is like super powerful. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to die here. This is humiliating.
Yeah.
Like that chain of events I find, I feel like it's a different thing than we've seen from Achilles before.
It's actually, like a moment of him admitting some weakness.
Yeah.
And inability.
Yeah. And it's like this one moment where he's like, I am humiliated. Like, and we don't see that very often. We haven't really seen it yet.
Yeah.
I feel like.
for me, again, and probably most of us as modern readers, this feels a little bit obvious. Again, of like the story trope of like arrogant person is humbled in the face of nature. Where like I'm like, okay, yeah, obviously, nature is more powerful than we are. But again, yeah, that's probably my own modern imposition on the story, where like I don't feel like this moment is as profound as I think it probably actually is when you again consider, especially for Achilles in the context of this, how arrogant and prideful and confident, with I think good reason, he has been. Like it's not just pure arrogance based on nothing. Like he is kind of the best fighter in the whole book.
Yeah.
But he is, like stopped by this.
Yeah.
So Achilles prays to Zeus and has his
yeah.
humble moment. And then the gods do listen. Like it's not like, oh, yep, Achilles is dead. Because I think, right, the gods are also invested in making sure that, the ending of this war is grand. They don't want Achilles to die in this humiliating way either, especially because Zeus did so much up to this point to get to this place. And like he kind of pulled so many things, and people have called in so many favors to manipulate this, that like they are also invested in making this a grand finale.
Yeah. So eventually Hephaestus gets called upon to fight the water with fire. So you've got like almost like a tsunami happening in the river, and then all of a sudden there's like fire all around it as well. And there's a pretty good Homeric simile. I shall read.
Yes.
He spoke through flames, his lovely streams ablaze, as when a cauldron on a blazing fire boils as it melts a plump pig's fat and bubbles all over, resting on the dry firewood. So his fine streams were blazing with the fire, his water boiling. He could not flow forward, blocked by the painful blast of wise Hephaestus. So he, being the river, could not flow forward, blocked by the fire. You got a boiling lake of fire now. I obviously like the water versus fire imagery is cool. And like a question of like which one, like rock, paper, scissors, like which one's more powerful, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on the context.
Well, but I also think in this case, there's the idea that like Hephaestus is kind of a major god, whereas this river is divine, but it's like a kind of, the river gods are kind of very minor. And so, yeah. Like, right. River is stronger than Achilles, but river is not stronger than like Olympians.
Yeah. It's just so funny because we think water puts out fire, but I guess fire evaporate water.
Right.
So it's kind of a
fire make water go blib, 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 blib.
Yeah. So it's like it's almost more like a standoff as it like who's going to let up first, I guess.
Yeah. And because again, I think it's because Hephaestus is, he's more powerful.
Stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. In general.
So Hephaestus's fire wins, the river kind of abates. Achilles is able to sort of get up on shore and, continue.
He keeps going.
But we do get more of the gods in between.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit all over the place. There's like a couple over here who are like, I don't like you either. And then there's a couple over here. But there is a really noticeable moment. Poseidon kind of challenges Apollo, this long speech. And then Apollo doesn't even say anything. He turned away. He was ashamed to wrestle with his uncle. Like, Apollo was kind of like done in this weird way. He's like, I'm not even responding. I'm just literally walking away. And then Artemis is like, you coward, you wimp. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really get what's going on with the gods necessarily.
Again, I'll admit to my own shame and slight embarrassment that like I end up like skimming these sections because it's like, oh great, the gods are just bickering again. And I know I've said this many times. It's just, I find it so hard to be invested in their quarrels in the same way. Yeah. Yeah.
The fighting on the battlefield amongst the mortals, it's kind of like, it's over in a sense that we're just waiting. Now we're just watching Achilles' wrath unfold.
Right. He has to like we know he's going to get to Hector. Like, that's obviously going to be the conclusion of this. We know there's a bunch of Trojans in the way. And so, yeah, it's like, okay, Achilles, go kill all the Trojans before you get to Hector. Like, we know this. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like similarly, because Apollo is one of the gods who has backed the Trojans.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of this like this is kind of over. I think like they also kind of recognize that like there's nothing that they can really do. There's like they can't really save the Trojans anymore. Like almost in kind of a morbid sense, like they've abandoned. Like the Trojans they're sort of abandoned now. Like there's nothing that can really save them. So the conclusion of this book is that Achilles is successful in driving basically all the Trojans back through the city gates.
Yeah.
Which was his goal. So good for him. There is an interesting line. Old Priam stood upon the god-built wall and looked at the enormity, Achilles. The Trojans fled before him, and there was no help for them. He groaned in grief and climbed down from the wall and called the fine gatekeepers from all along the wall and ordered them. Open the gates wide, hold them open until the fighters get inside the city. So we get Priam back, which is nice.
Yes, because he will become very important in these last few books.
Yes. Yeah. And that is the strange ending of this book.
Yeah. But in many ways, I think it's strange because it's just building up to the next book, which is the final fight between Hector and Achilles. That like, I don't know if Homer would have known that like everybody's kind of getting antsy, but it does feel like it's kind of like, all right, yeah, we're finally getting to it. Like we're here now. Like we're at the gates. The finale will happen. We're going to get this fight finally. And so, yeah, book 22, we will get the fight.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I feel like Hector hasn't had like a lot of screen time in the recent books.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Like, yeah, when was the last real moment
since
he
he killed Patroclus.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Which was a bit ago. Yeah, like I wonder what's going through his head. Like I wonder like what are his goals? And like as the Trojans are all like retreating and stuff, like Hector's got to be in the mix there.
Yeah.
Like we just don't get any of his perspective, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe to emphasize that like in case you forgot, this book is about Achilles, you know?
Yeah.
And now that he's back, Hector is totally unimportant. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, like I know how the final battle is going to result, but I don't actually remember too many of the details of how it plays out. And I do remember that they taunt each other quite a lot, the back and forth, but I don't actually remember what they really talk about beyond the fact that it's like a classic, like, why are they talking instead of fighting kind of thing. But I'll be interested, to see because, Hector, I do feel like this read through, I've paid more attention to Hector's own sort of internal conflicts and things. And you're right that like he has kind of been absent recently. And so when he does return here in this book, how will his demeanor, if anything, have changed from, what we've seen him grow and develop throughout the book so far?
Yeah. Does he, like, it kind of has seemed like his ego has grown and grown and grown. The question is, like, does he go out on thinking wrongly, like, no one can touch me? Or does he have, like, a momentary, like, sort of return does he have like humility or something right at the end?
Or
like,
even despondency of like, I am fated to this and I must now just sort of like walk out to my own slaughter. Like, I think there is also the opportunity for him to recognize that like, this is not going to go the way I want to, and yet I still have to.
Yeah.
So if you want to find out along with us, I have the audiobook recording of Samuel Butler's translation of book 22 if you want to listen along. Or you can read on your own, or just simply tune in next week and we'll summarize and talk about book 22.
Yep. Until then, happy reading.
Happy reading.